Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my April TBR. So these are the books that I'm kind of vibing with for the month of April. The way I typically go about choosing a TBR and the way I go about like actually reading my TBR is that I kind of treat this more as like my pick of the litter. This is just like what I'm kind of feeling. And by that I just mean that I might not 100% get to all of these, but this is kind of what I'm more so focusing on. So again, this is kind of more what I'm feeling. That doesn't mean that I'm like 100% gonna get to all of these, but there are a few in here that I am more so inclined to pick up because I feel like they're more like important than the others. Every month I try to focus on a few series to like binge through. I usually go about like reading book 2 in a series, read something else, book 3 in a series, read something else. That's kind of how I go about it. So I have a few series here. I want to read more standalones, so I put some in the stack, and I also have some other things. But without further ado, let me just get started. Starting with series, I would say the most important thing for me is to read the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, to prepare for the Netflix show. I don't think I have to explain this. It's a very popular series. The Grishaverse is incredibly popular, obviously popular enough to get like a Netflix adaptation. I know this follows a cast of characters. There's a heist, though I hear that the heist bit isn't as prominent as like the summary tells it to be. The like common consensus is that the original Grisha trilogy's plot is better, but the characters here are better. That's like the vibe that I get. I think Leigh Bardugo writes really addicting stories. When I read the Grishaverse, I'm still in Ruin and Rising, but when I read the Grishaverse, I get the same vibes as I did when I first read like some of those like guilty pleasure books. Not that I feel guilty about reading any books, but like the same kind of like addicting vibes as when I first read like Twilight or any of those like post-Twilight type books. I do think that Leigh Bardugo's writing and what I've read from her is a bit better than what I was reading post-Twilight, but still very addicting and like very easy to get through. Another series that I like to focus on is the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray. I have books 2 and 3, Rebel Angels and The Sweet Far Thing. I think Libba Bray writes really good like historical fantasy paranormal stuff. Her Diviner series is so good, but in this Gemma Doyle trilogy we follow Gemma Doyle, who is a girl in Victorian England, and we follow her after her mother has recently passed away. She witnessed her mother's death, and a lot of weird things were happening as her mother was dying, and Gemma's been having visions. There's like secret societies, like secret witch coven societies. It's also a portal fantasy. I've read the first 2 books before, reread the first one recently, and I'm gonna reread the second one so I can finally finish this trilogy. I really enjoy it. It's obviously YA, or at least it's marketed that way, but I do think that this is one of those books that can be read by a lot of audiences. It's a lot more like somber. I will say that the reread of the first book wasn't perfect because there are some things that I probably wouldn't have written in the year of our Lord 2021, especially in regards to the love interest, who is Indian and who also passes or pretends to be Romani for purposes, but that's a whole other can of worms. I still really enjoy this series, and hopefully I will get to this after Six of Crows. Another series that I like to focus on is the Serpents and King trilogy by S.M. Gaither. This series is on Kindle Unlimited, which I used to read like more so like indie authors, indie fantasy authors. In the series we follow Alicia, who is a member of this Serpent clan. In this world there are about 12 clans, and 3 of them are like major clans, so they rule like 3 different kingdoms. But Alicia is a member of a Serpent clan, which is like a clan of legends because they've been wiped out by a king for, I want to say that her clan had started to get like a little more power hungry and doing some weird stuff with magic, and she is probably the last, if not one of the last members of this clan. At the same time, the king of one of these 3 countries, one of the 3 major clans, has kind of also been getting really power hungry, and she is gonna try to like save the empire along with some allies of hers, and she also has the help of the king's own son. And in order to like save the kingdom, she has to like take the power from this serpent goddess who like represented her old clan. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on in the first book. I will talk about it more in my March wrap up. It's really interesting. There are some things that I haven't really read before, and I think that's one of like the pros of reading like indie fantasy, is that you have authors doing like whatever they want, essentially. Not that like traditional publishing is like super restrictive, but I do have a lot of fun reading like indie or self-published fantasy authors. And the last book within this like series section, it's kind of part of a series but also like not really, and that is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra, Clare, and a few other authors. Do I need to go into detail? Probably not. I believe this short story collection takes place after City of Heavenly Fire, which was the 6th book in the Mortal Instruments series. I really didn't like books 4, 5, and 6, but I still enjoy the world. I like how expansive it's like gotten. And I've also heard that this collection is probably one of the better ones. I thought the Magnus Bane one was like okay, but I've heard this one was like better. Unless I heard wrong. I know this one mostly follows Simon, but he's actually one of my favorite characters. I know he's kind of like annoying within the Mortal Instruments, but he's actually like really funny. And I very rarely find any character like truly funny. Cassandra Clare is like one of the few authors that actually like, can make me laugh. I very rarely laugh at the comedic relief in like books. Simon is actually one of them that I actually laugh with, if you understand what I mean. So this next book is like 100% like a priority, and that is Unwritten by Alicia J. Novo. I believe it was the author or the editor who reached out and asked if I would like an e-arc in order to like give my full honest thoughts, and I said yes. It looked interesting. The cover looks really pretty. So from what I've gathered, this book follows a character named Beatrix, and she has this weird affinity or connection to books. At some point in this story, she like goes into like a book, like she becomes part of this book, or she enters this realm of books. I'm not 100% sure. And within this realm there is some like evil character doing bad things, and she gets involved. That's all I really know. I believe this is from an indie publisher, and I'm all for supporting and getting the word out there for lesser known books. I'll have to reach out to the author because I think the assumption was that I was gonna write like a review on Instagram, which I totally can do, but I mean, if I like it enough or if I have enough thoughts on it, I'll do like a dedicated review here on my channel. I've had fun doing dedicated reviews in the past, so that's something to look forward to. So here are some standalones that I'd like to read. The first is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I had started reading this before a few years ago. I want to say like 2018 or like 2016. Yeah, so I had started reading this a while ago, and I had to put it down for probably school, honestly. This is a really well loved book on like BookTube and stuff, but it's also really well loved among like literary spheres. If you don't know what it's about, it's like a Greek reimagining, retelling of Achilles, the Greek hero, and his like lover and companion Patroclus. I feel that this book will make me cry knowing what I know about Achilles. But yeah, I know that this is probably going to be absolutely stunning and like well worth this time spent reading it. I have a feeling it's going to be 5 stars. We'll see what happens, but I think this is going to like emotionally kill me. So the next book is kind of a chunker. I remember picking it up because I saw the spine, I saw the cover. I didn't really understand what the summary was about at the time that I picked this up, but I did, and it was The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. I didn't know that this like had like vampires. I think it was someone on Instagram who was talking about their favorite like vampire books. They brought up like Anne Rice, and then they mentioned this book, and I was like, wait a minute, vampires. No one told me that this had vampires. I'd like to get to it. It is obviously super big. It's almost 600 pages and the font's kind of small, but I haven't properly like read the summary here. I kind of just skimmed through it, but like vampires and history plays some part in it. That's all I really know. So the next book is also a standalone from what I can see, and it's The City by Stella Gemmell. I have never heard anyone talk about this. I just picked it up at my used bookstore without any kind of research. From what I can tell, this book takes place in a city that was once like a thriving city. Now it's kind of like a dump, and it's ruled by this really power hungry emperor that somehow lived for a very, very long time. No one really knows how, but it sounds like there's a like brewing rebellion, and the person leading the rebellion was someone who once worked for this emperor. I think he was like part of his like army, or the commander of his army. He's supposed to be dead, but I guess he like, I don't know, faked his death or something, and he's gonna try to take down this emperor. Sounds really cool. I'm hoping it's a standalone, so I don't have to like dedicate myself to another series, but I'm very much into the character or group of characters takes down an empire or an emperor, that kind of storyline. I'm really into that right now, so this seems perfect. And if I am in the mood for like a mystery thriller, I have The Lying Game by Ruth Ware, who is an incredibly popular author within this genre. I don't really know the specifics of this book. All I know is that I believe there was like a group of girls who were like inseparable at like one point in their lives, and some event caused them to kind of like fracture their friendship, but now they're brought back for some reason. I'm assuming someone died, because, you know, mystery thriller. But yeah, this author in general is really well loved. I have heard that like as gripping as her writing might be, that the story itself isn't fantastic. I've more so been reading like YA mystery thrillers, but I kind of want to like go back to more adult content. But I think Ruth Ware's books are probably like quick reads. I mean, it's a mystery thriller, so I'm assuming it's not gonna be like super slow. As far as like comics or graphic novels, I'm currently reading the Supergirl comics from the Rebirth era. I'm about 20 issues in, and I want to say there's probably like anywhere from like 40 to like 60 issues, probably more. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more. If you've never read comics before, especially from like major publishers, as far as DC goes, the Rebirth era, I think its intention was to like get more readers and to like not dumb down, but kind of give them a good place to start reading some comics. I believe in this iteration she was pretty young. I would say she was a teenager. I don't think she was like a young adult or anything, but she was a teenager when she was told to leave Krypton with her baby cousin Kal-El, Superman. And yeah, it's pretty basic. I've read up to issue number 20, and up until this point we haven't really got anything outstanding. There's probably one issue that I really enjoyed so far. I mean, they're all fine. I also forgot to mention that I am planning a buddy read with Layla from Layla Reads. I'll link her channel down below. She asked if we could do a buddy read, and I said yes, and we decided on Bonecryer's Moon by Kathryn Purdie, I believe is the author's name. This is a YA fantasy that made the rounds a while ago, maybe a few months ago, because it was in like at least one subscription box. But I believe this book follows our main character, who is a bone crier, which means that she like ferries souls to like the heavens or the underworld. But in order to do that, she has to like kill her one true love, and I believe her one true love has a vendetta against bone criers. So I'm assuming this is more so like fantasy romance, which I occasionally pick up. So going into the story, knowing that is pretty helpful for me. I don't want to assume that this is going to be like this long epic adventure. I'm assuming it's just fantasy romance. So yeah, those are all the books that I am planning to read in the month of April. Some are more important for me to get to than others, but let me know which you think I should prioritize. Have you read any of these? Have you not read any of these? Are they on your TBR? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Let me know in the comments. I will link all my socials down below, as well as some other important links. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.